Hare Krishna. Today we will speak about the appearance of one of the most famous and loved incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is Lord Sri Ramachandra. He is a unique incarnation, and he doesn't appear in every cosmic cycle. With the cosmic cycle, we are talking about what we call the Mahayugas. We know Kali Yuga, that's where we are. It's 432,000 years. And the one before that was Dwapara Yuga. That was just when Krishna appeared towards the very end. And that's twice as long. That's 864,000 years. Before that was Treta Yuga, which is 4 times as long as Kali Yuga. And that's the millennium where Lord Ramachandra appeared. And it's not in every cosmic cycle that Lord Ramachandra appeared, but he came many thousands of years ago. And he lived for many thousands of years as well, because the lifespan was much longer in the previous yugas. Lord Ramachandra is Vishnu Tattva. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the different forms of the Lord are the same. They're the one, Vishnu Tattva. But they do have different moods and different attributes and weapons. Lord Balaram, he has his plow, for example. Krishna, he has his flute. Vishnu, he has the conch shell, chakra, club, and lotus flower. And Lord Ramachandra, he has his bow and arrow. And they also have different colors. Lord Ramachandra is greenish, and Lord Krishna is bluish, blackish, etc. How this is so, it's explained very nicely by Lord Brahma, the first created living being in the universe. In the Brahma Samhita, he says, Diparchir eva hi dashantaram abhupetya dipayate vivrita hetu samana dharma yastadrigeva hicha vishnu taya vibhati govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami, which translates into the light of one candle being communicated to other candles, although it burns separately in them, is the same in its quality. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who exhibits himself equally in the same mobile manner in his various manifestations. And Srila Prabhupada explains this in New York on the 27th of July, 1971. He gave a class on the Brahma Samhita, where he says, Krishna has got Vishnu Tattva form, personal. Vishnu Tattva form means that one form is as powerful as the other form. In the Vibhinangsha forms, we are not as powerful as Krishna, but there are forms of Krishna who are as powerful as Krishna. Just like you take this candle and you light on another candle, but all these candles are of the same power, although the original candle is there. Similarly, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, and there are innumerable other forms of Godhead also. But they are as good as Krishna. Then Prabhupada quotes the Ishopanishad invocation, Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. They are complete and perfect, all these forms. So the potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so great that if another Godhead is expanded, both of them are of the same potency. So it's very important to understand. Yeah. However, the avatars, they have the same objectives, which Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. And then Krishna comes to, whenever there is a time in history where there is a decline in religion and irreligion is on the rise, then it comes to a certain point. Often the demigods, the devatas, complain to Vishnu that the situation is becoming intolerable. And then Krishna prepares and he descends to this planet to do three things, which is paritranaya sadhanam. He protects and pleases the devotees. Vinashaya chadushkritam. He eradicates the earth from irreligious elements. And dharma samstapanartaya. He established the rules, the religious duties in this world so that one can have a civilized, structured society. So when it comes to Lord Ram, he's particularly connected to dharma. He's the ideal ruler. He had a kingdom, Raja, Ram Raja, which was the perfect kingdom where everybody was happy, everybody was following dharma, and it was very prosperous, all wealth, all nice enjoyment, everything was clean, beautiful. So people of India specifically, they really like the kingdom of Ram. However, some of them, they want to have the kingdom of Ram without Ram. They just want the enjoyment part and have the nice world, peaceful and clean and beautiful, but not surrender to God. And the similar mentality is there. If we look at Lakshmi Narayan, Vishnu, he is never separated from his consort, Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. But sometimes in India, people are much more interested in Lakshmi. They want to worship the goddess of fortune to get prosperity and wealth. So they would like to have Lakshmi without Narayan. But that's not so nice. Lakshmi Narayan doesn't like that. Lakshmi transforms into another form, which is called Durga. But in Sanskrit, Durga means slow walk. Everything is very troublesome. It takes a lot of effort and struggle to attain some Lakshmi, to attain some wealth. So the best is to worship Lakshmi together with Narayan. That will be fine. And to have the kingdom of Ram with Ram. Yeah. The story of Ram is depicted in one of the itihasas. Itihasa is historic literature, basically only Ramayana, and the Mahabharata. Mahabharata, where the Bhagavad Gita is one chapter. So Ramayana is the other itihasa. And the one which is most famous and one could say most accurate is the Ramayana written by Valmiki Muni. There's another book also written by a great devotee, Tulsidas. Srila Prabhupada explains on Jamashtami in 1968, Prabhupada said, great devotee, Tulsidas, he wrote Ramacharita Manasa as a different book, which is basically his own expression of his feelings towards Ram. And sometimes this book, Ramacharita Manasa, is mistaken to be the actual Ramayana. But that was written by Valmiki. And Valmiki is a special story. He was a plunderer and a robber. He went on the road and stopped people and robbed them. And one day he met Narada Muni, which you could understand was a great exalted personality. So actually he surrendered to Narada Muni, and Narada became his spiritual master and gave him a mantra. He wanted Valmiki to chant Rama, 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 Rama. But being basically just a criminal, he couldn't do that. So then Narada was clever. So you chant this other mantra, Mara. Mara means death. Mara, Mara, Mara. So he was chanting that for very, very long time. Mara, 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 Rama, 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 Rama. It became Rama, Rama. So he became a great exalted devotee, and he was able to write the Ramayana for the benefit of humanity. And Srila Prabhupada, he said in Durban in October 8 in 1975 that if you read Valmiki's Ramayana, it is as good as reading the Bhagavad Gita. So we know today there are millions and millions of devotees of Ram in India. Probably there are even more Ram Bhaktas than there are Krishna Bhaktas. So Ram Navami is a celebration which is as big and important than Sri Krishna Janmashtami for the Hindus. However, Lord Ram, he appeared as a young prince in the kingdom of Ayodhya. Ayodhya is still there in India. And recently, this year, in January 22nd, there was a big, beautiful temple inaugurated in the city of Ayodhya for the pleasure of all the practicing Ram Bhaktas and other devotees of the Lord. And his father was King Dasharat, and his mother was Queen Kaushalya. So he was the oldest son of the king. But the king had also two other queens. One queen was Kaikeyi, and she was the mother of Lord Ram's little brother Bharata. And then it was Sumitra who gave birth to Lord Ram's even smaller brother Lakshman and Shatrughna. Now, when Ram grew up, he was already extremely powerful, and he rid the planet of so many irreligious elements. And then at one point, it was time to get married. So he attended the Swayamvar, the ceremony of selecting a husband of Sita Devi, who is also a form of goddess of fortune, also a form of Srimati Radharani. So there's a similarity when Arjuna went to Draupadi's Swayamvara, ceremony of picking a husband. There was competition. So many qualified princes came there, and they had to prove their valor, their courage, and their skills. So Arjuna did something really impossible, and so did Ram. It was stated, according to the legend, it took hundreds of men to carry a really big and powerful bow that belonged to Lord Shiva. So it was said that that prince was able to string it, to put an arrow. He was supposed to get the hand of Princess Sita. But all of them failed, none. And then came Ram. He not only stringed the bow, he broke it to pieces with a roaring, tumultuous sound. And it was obvious to everybody there that this was the husband of Princess Sita. So this way, they got married. Now, King Dasharat, the old king, he was preparing to retire. He wanted to see a new prince. So obviously, he was looking at Lord Ram as his natural successor. So everybody was happy with that Ram would become the next king, with one exception. And that was one of the queens, Queen Kaikeyi, the mother of Bharata. She had a maidservant. She was whispering bad things in the ear of Kaikeyi to make her envious, jealous. So finally she decided, well, I think my son should be the king instead. It so happened that King Dasharat, when he was out in a battle, fighting war, then Queen Kaikeyi saved his life and cared for him in the battlefield, and he became very grateful. So he promised the king that whatever you want, I will grant you a boon. But she was kind of clever and thought, well, it's actually, I can't think of something right now, so I will save this one for later. So now, when it was getting close to the coronation of Prince Ram to become king, and Kaikeyi had become polluted by the envious words of her maidservant, I think her name was Mantara, then she went to King Dasharat and told him, my dear king, remember the vow you took when I saved your life at the battlefield? So I want to use it now. And the king says, yes, of course, please, my dear, what is it I can give you? And then she said, I want my son Bharata to be king instead of Ram. And that was devastating for the king. And she made him send away Ram and Sita and also Lakshman to the forest in exile for 14 long years. So they were living in the forest. And Bharata, he knew this was dead wrong. So he refused to take the position of Ram. Instead, he took Ram's wooden shoes and put them on the throne during this whole period and just expedited the different business of the kingdom in the absence of Lord Ram. The team of Sita, Ram, Lakshman, they had a hard time in the forest. It was very simple. None of this kingly opulences, very simply dressed in deerskin and bark and eating roots and like that. So many challenges, many dangers was there. So Lakshman had a hard time, and so did Ram and Sita. So many things happening in that forest. Then Ravana, a horrible man-eating Rakshasa with his kingdom in the Sri Lanka, in the Lanka island, he heard about Sita and developed lusty feelings for it. He wanted her. So he devised different tricks by magic and things, and finally managed to kidnap Sita. And of course, Ram was devastated that Sita was being kidnapped. So, and Prabhupada made a comment in this, that it is so important that a woman, how powerful she may be, she must be protected at all times. First by the father as a young girl, then by her husband as a young woman, and then by an older son or older relatives as an elderly woman, because otherwise she will be exploited one way or the other by Rakshasas like Ravana. So protection of women is a very important aspect of a dharmic society. And speaking of which, since Lord Ram is the personification of Dharma, the minimum level of civilization, what we can call a human civilization, is a civilization where people are following Dharma, the universal religious principles to keep a society organized and civilized, principles of ethics and moral and justice, etc. And when it's not followed, like today in Kali Yuga, there is so much problems and conflicts and war and disease and natural disasters and so many things as a natural result of that. So therefore, Krishna himself designed a system where people can live. Like we can continue to misuse our free will of trying to exploit material nature and enjoy, but we do it in a civilized way. So that's okay. At least you don't fall down to lower species, to hellish conditions. But you do that if you become immoral and criminal and commit a lot of violence towards cows and unborn babies and things like that. So that's the minimum. That's called Varna Ashrama, where people are nicely engaged according to their preferences and skills in different stages of life, as a young and grown up and elderly, etc. And even better if it could be like the Ram Raja, the kingdom of Ram, where it is God-centered. It's not only organized and nice, but it's actually directed towards people realizing their eternal position as servants of God, servants of Lord Ram, servants of Krishna. And the whole life is based on a desire to approach, to make advance and come closer and closer to God. So that's the Daiva Varnashram. Daiva means divine or godly. So the kingdom of Ram is a very good example. The God was there, present, and the whole society was centered around pleasing God, fulfilling his divine dharma. Now, back to the exile, and Ram and Lakshman set out to find Sita at all costs. There were many obstacles, many problems, but they made an alliance with Hanuman and the king of the monkeys, Sugriva. Hanuman and Sugriva were both monkeys, and Hanuman is said to be an incarnation of Lord Shiva, so he could really be a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in that role. So together with the monkeys, they formed an army, and they realized that Sita has been held captive in the island of Lanka. So they wanted to go there and capture her, rescue her properly. But they need to cross the ocean. There's a portion of the ocean between Cap Comorin, the southern tip of India, and the island of Lanka. So Sri Ram, he summoned the cooperation of the ocean so they could build a bridge and cross over. Hanuman could fly over because he had immense mystic powers, but to bring out the whole army, they had actually to get the cooperation of the ocean. However, even though Lord Ram asked the ocean to cooperate, nothing happened for several days, and Lord Ram became angry. So his red-hot eyes were staring at the ocean and was heating up the temperature and make it very uncomfortable for the ocean and all these inhabitants there. So finally, the personification of the ocean, Varuna, came before Lord Ram with folded hands, and he offered his prayers, and he also offered his cooperation to help with the building of the bridge. So they did that, and according to the legends, each and every stone was written the name Ram on, and then by mystic power, it was floating on the ocean. So the whole monkey army could wander across to an island on those floating stones and rescue Mother Sita from the captivity of Ravana. It was a big battle. Ravana was killed. If you actually look at the satellite photo, you will see the remnants of that bridge, like a small string going from the southern point of India. It's called Rameshwaram, until the shores of Sri Lanka. Although it was like hundreds and thousands of years ago this happened, there are still some remnants. It's interesting. So everything ended well. They all returned to Ayodhya. They were received with great jubilation. Everybody was so happy to have their King Ram back. And Bharata, he presented the wooden shoes and also the throne to Lord Ram again. And he was ruling a very prosperous kingdom. And that went on for some time. And at one point, Sita Devi, she returned, she merged back into the earth. And Lord Ram, he also left this planet. He's still present every day, actually. He's present in the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Or, like many of the Ram Bhaktas say it, they say, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So whether you're a Krishna Bhakta or a Ram Bhakta, I hope you enjoyed the story about Supreme Personality of Godhead coming to this planet as Lord Sri Ramachandra to get rid of irreligious elements, protect and please the devotees, and re-establish the religious principles. So have a happy Ram Navami. Hare Krishna.